hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. While listening, you'll be exposed to inspiring, empowering, and unifying perspectives that I'm highly confident will yield stellar results in your life if you opt to try them on for size. Also, at optimistic.tv, we have officially begun releasing the first few episodes of our new late-night style, consciousness-elevating video variety talk show, Optimistic, which features live visionary art, soul share interviews, retreat guests here at the Mystic Manor, as well as live musical performances. I'm also super excited to announce that we are currently making plans to release the rest of Season 1 on my personal favorite online streaming service. So stay tuned to optimistic.tv to follow the unfolding development of this exciting Optimistic expansion, as we'll be posting more info and release dates there soon. And in the meantime, be sure to check out, of course, the first few episodes at optimistic.tv as well. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record. And as always, I am super grateful to connect with each and every one of you and share, experience a moment as we float through eternity together, exploring how we can step into the next greatest and greatest version of ourselves. And one of the ways that we've been doing that, exploring that, is through our good friend from another time, another now moment happening on another channel in 1931, that is, Emmet Fox, who wrote The Golden Key and 22 additional essays that give his perspective on how to shift your reality and create more of what you want to see in your world. And of course, these 23 essays came to me in synchronistic fashion when I had a dream maybe a little over a month ago, in regards to writing my first book. And it has been coming through, by the way, like every day I'm working on it. I'm waking up and just like, it's flowing so quickly. And there was a bunch of synchronicity that led me to The Golden Key and 22 additional essays by Emmet Fox. The name of my book is The Golden Key. And we started with reading that first very short, they're all super, super short, these essays. And they give us a perspective on, like I said, the ultimate nature of reality, how to create more magic in our world. And so today I'm just going to continue. I've read it a few times throughout the last month or so, a few of them, and I'm going to read a few more. And I'm not sure, they're all so short, so I'm going to just see how long they are, and depending on how long they are, at least going to read two of them, and then talk a little bit about my thoughts, my reflections on Emmet's perspective, and see where it takes us. So today it looks like next up is entitled an essay called New Thought, and I'll start with that. This is by Emmet Fox back in 1931. As far as God is concerned, there is no check of any kind upon the amount of divine energy that we can appropriate, or therefore upon the things that we can do or be. Yet for practical purposes, you can draw from the inexhaustible source only in accordance with the measure of your understanding, just as you can draw water from the Atlantic only in accordance with the size of the vessel that you use. Ooh, that gives me chills real quick. You guys hear me all the time saying, when you come holding your bag of sugar to have it filled, it'll be examined to see how large it is. I mean, this is something that I talk about all the time. Almost everyone is foolishly content to fill his pitcher, small as it may be, to somewhere very short of the top. The true manner of God's working is illustrated by a simple anecdote. A certain man was working in his garden, assisted by his little girl, who had undertaken the task of watering the lawn by means of the usual rubber hose. Suddenly she cries out, "Daddy, the water hose has stopped." The father looked over and, taking in the situation quietly, said, "Well, take your foot off the hose." The ultimate cause of all our troubles is just this. Behind all secondary and proximate causes lies the same primary mistake. We have been pressing our feet and the whole weight of our mentality upon the pipeline of life and then complaining because the water does not flow. And in the Lord shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in drought. And thou shalt be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose water fails not. That's a Bible quote from Isaiah 58:11 he shares. Jesus has told us that we always demonstrate our consciousness. We always demonstrate what we habitually have in our mind. What sort of mind have you? Do not let anyone else tell you because they do not know. People who like you will think your mentality is better than it is. Those who do not like you will think it is worse. Just examine your conditions and see what you are demonstrating. This method is scientific and infallible. If an automobile engineer is working out a new design for an engine, for instance, he doesn't say, "I wonder what Smith thinks about this. I like Smith. If Smith is against this, I won't try it." Nor does he say, "I won't try this idea because it comes from France." He is impersonal and unemotional about it. He says, "I will test it out and decide by the results I obtain." All that anyone can do for you is to help you change your thought. You yourself must keep it changed. No one else can think for you. No man can save his brother's soul or pay his brother's debt. And I will put a new spirit within you. Ezekiel 11:19. Another Bible verse he ends New Thought with. I love this one because, this is something you guys hear me talk about all the time. You are one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things. It is at your disposal. All of it. The same materials, the matter, the non-physical stuff, consciousness that created everything that we see, both physical and non-physical, is an extension of you, and you are an extension of it. You are tapped in, connected to it, whether you have forgotten it or not. Whether you're sitting on the back of a whale fishing for a minnow, or you're coming holding a little tiny itty bitty, one of those itty bitty little sandwich bags to be filled up with all the goodness that is accessible, that's certainly a choice. Or you can take your foot off the garden hose and allow it to flow. And it all starts by your perspective, how you're viewing yourself and what you're worth, right? And a lot of times it comes down to this self-worth. You don't think you're worthy. You don't think you're good enough. You don't think it's there for you. And the truth of the matter is you are as worthy as any soul ever has been, could be, would be, because you are a reflection and an extension of it. There's only one of us in the room. And once you really get that, you can start playing with taking your foot off the hose. And having your foot on the hose played its purpose. It was a great experience to help you appreciate the other side of abundance. But we're done with that, aren't we? Aren't we tired of struggling, not having enough, telling the story? And by the way, being told the story by someone who has no idea. I mean, how many of us have been sold on that one? Someone who, it's like someone who is going to tell you that, Fiji doesn't exist. And it's like, okay, have you ever been? Fiji doesn't exist, huh? Well, that's interesting because I've been there 25 times. It's like someone who has no experience with understanding the ultimate nature of reality and all of this, these perspectives that we're constantly exploring is yet we allow those people to get access to our brain, to our hearts, to our minds. And that's something that it's understandable because, we're bombarded with it. Second, we're very sensitive beings. And so, you love someone, then you hear what they're saying and you take some part of it on. Certainly a lot of us, it happened, in our formidable years as children where, it's really powerful being told and placed into your subconscious mind, up until 6, 7 years old, all of your base level thoughts have been given to you. So it's understandable, but now it's your work to, untangle that knot if it's something that's really holding you back and starting to live your life from a perspective that is really reflective of the truth of the situation, the reality in which you find yourself. And that is you are one with it all. It is you and you are it. You're the one that is so abundant. You created the entire cosmos. Just like you don't understand, Alan Watts talks about this, just like you don't necessarily understand the mechanics of how your body is pumping your blood and making your heart beat and all the complexities that you are doing right now. As you listen to these words, you are doing so many highly, highly complex things that our greatest scientists haven't fully even figured out yet. Certainly can't even begin to duplicate the magic of what it is you're doing, running that bio bodysuit. You are operating from within. Your consciousness is navigating throughout 3D reality. You're doing that in just the same way you don't know how you're doing it. Have you ever considered, Alan Watts said, that's the same thing is going on with the way you created the stars and the heavens and the earth and all of it. You don't know that you're doing it, but yet you did it. And that is absolutely incredible to think about, right? It's a very close approximation and tie-in, right? Well, I mean, is it really that big of a stretch, that much more grandiose to consider that you created the heavens, the earth, the stars, the planets, all of that, and don't understand and are doing it now with your consciousness and don't necessarily understand the mechanics of that, then the fact that you're making your heart beat and your blood pump and the trillions of cells to interact perfectly to create the exact right conditions for you to be able to breathe, walk, talk, comprehend, all of that you're doing without a conscious awareness of it. So it's really, that's just as miraculous as the fact that you're holding the sun in the sky, right? It's all miraculous. So start expanding, like Wayne Dyer said, I'm realistic. I expect miracles. And that is the path forward for each and every one of us. All right. Let's take, we got time here for at least one more. This one's even a little bit shorter. It's the essay called No Reality in Evil. Never recognize evil as having any reality. Never grant it the courtesy of the slightest or most formal acquiescence. Even though you may not be able to demonstrate over error for the time being, still you must not recognize it as having any power or reality. Every time you speak or think of evil as having any power, you give it that much power. Every time you allow it to scare you, you give it that much authority. Always fight error in thought, not in the sense of struggling with it, but fight it in the sense of knowing that it is only false belief. Do not let it rest quietly in thought, but harass it. An old soldier who was with Grant during most of the Civil War once said, the difference between Grant and McClellan was this. McClellan was a mighty fine soldier, knew all the military textbooks by heart and what you ought to do, but he wouldn't fight. When Lincoln would ask him to fight, he would say, not ready yet, or we must be thoroughly prepared for a thing like that. Next year, maybe. But Grant, he was always fighting. No matter how few men Grant had with him, if the enemy was anywhere near, Grant took a sock at him. Grant would always fight. The only attitude for the metaphysical student is, I believe in divine harmony and nothing else. I do not believe there is any power in evil, and it is not going to get any recognition from me. The truth about my problem is true now, not next week or next year, but now. And the truth concerning anything is all that there is of it. This is a scientific way of fighting and harassing error, to see that it has no chance to dig itself in. This is the General Grant touch. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Cool. Love this too. Yet again, me and Emmet are aligning. This is something I've talked about many, many times as well. This idea that, he even said it here. He said the fear, right, or evil is a false belief. Fear, F-E-A-R, false emotions appearing real. As I've heard it said before, or F-E-A-R, forget everything and run, or alternatively, face everything and rise. And when you face your fears, you don't give your power away to something that is quote unquote evil, right? Evil spelled backwards is live, right? It's part of the experience, this shadow part of mankind and ourselves, and it pops its head up. Instead of running or fleeing in fear, which only gives it more power, love is the answer. Bring love to it. It's these are parts of yourself that just want to be integrated and transmuted, and that are lacking love. Invite your demons to tea, right? And allow this reality that it only has power if you give it. If you laugh at the devil, he runs, right? You guys have heard me talk before about Bashar, the time I heard him talking to someone who was very, very fearful. It was a live event with Bashar there, and someone stood up and very fearful about some things that were happening and they were seeing that were like scary and metaphysical and strange. And Bashar said, don't you see? All that fear you have around it is what gives it its power. If you give it no power, it's like you become invisible to it. It's not a match for you anymore. And it's like camouflage in a sense to these things. So, giving evil no power, that's the future. Instead of constantly navigating your life as someone like an old friend I remember who would literally hide behind, light poles when we were crossing crosswalks. And I remember looking at him like, what are you doing while we're waiting for the light to turn green? Well, what if a car runs off the road and hits me? It's like, wow, you really are fearful, right? It's like you're literally hiding for your life behind a light pole, and for me, I take those things. It doesn't mean I'm throw all caution to the wind and do stupid stuff, but I also trust the process of my life. And I trust that there's no mistake that's going to happen. Anything that happens is going to be in divine order and that divine harmony he referenced, right? And if that entails me going out by the car, all of a sudden running off the road and coming up onto the sidewalk, or whatever would be happened or viewed as dark or fearful or scary or whatever, I trust the process, and that knowing that ultimately I am untouchable. I'm an infinite being who is untouchable, and there's nothing that has ever or will ever happen to me that's not by divine design and a part of my higher self's ultimate plan. Right? And so I can certainly do everything I can to choose what I think is best, but then I can surrender that there's even a bigger narrative and story, that a part of myself is helping to steer the ship that may have something else in mind, that it's always, even if I don't understand it, I trust that it's there for the greater good. And it's always happening for me, not to me, whatever that looks like. That's when you can move into your life in a way where you're really fearless and you're living fully. If you're living in fear, it's a life, I've seen it said before, it's like you're 3/4 dead anyway, right? You're barely experiencing all the good that life has to offer. And that is really, that's what you came here to do. That's what I came here to do. We are doing it a little bit more clearly and concisely, powerfully with each and every day as we evolve into the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves, as we get our sea legs, as we get stronger, more brave, more bold, more courageous, all the things that we deem as beautiful, right? When you see the movie with the one who's, even though he's scared, he's standing up in courage, digging down deep. That's what we all admire. That's the path for each and every one of us. All right, all you incredible, beautiful reflections. This has been an awesome Monday. Hope you were enjoying it. Thank you for connecting and sharing. Thank you, Emmet Fox, wherever you are floating in eternity, for co-creating this episode with us. Till next time, everyone, journey well. Love you so, so much. Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you about the game with the universe on our website. You can choose the first number that comes to your mind, and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time. And if you go to positivehead.com/universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to spark the curiosity of friends and family by having them choose a number. So they'll hopefully go and check out their number as well, which I greatly appreciate because it helps us to spread the word about the podcast. Once again, the address is positivehead.com/universe. And as a quick reminder, if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them almost every day, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I cannot stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so. I have my favorite, the appleberry shake, at least 5 times a week. Once again, to learn more about the Purium transformation, go to positivehead.com/transformation. Or if you want to keep it simple and just try out my favorite, the appleberry shake, you can go straight over to ishoppurium.com and be sure to use code positivehead for 25% off. I'll spell that for you. It's ishoppurium.com. And be sure to use your Positive Head 25% coupon code.